Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I'm your host, Louise Solis, and with me is my very, very talented friend, who is truly a rare find. She is a mixtress, DC Gina.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, love.
I was 100% looking at your nose.
I know, you keep cheating.
I know. You know what it is? I got new glasses, and now I can read things. So it's been really a whole new world to me. I feel like that kid has been in grade school that sat all the way in the back and couldn't see the board, and all of a sudden you could see everything. It's been eye-opening.
Literally. Right off with the dad joke.
Dad joke? It's a mom joke. This mom.
Okay,
all
mom.
right.
All right, so back to the show. So, speaking of friends, do you know who Marilyn Monroe's best friend was?
Quaaludes?
Diamonds, of course.
Oh, diamonds. A girl's best friend.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah, this is a trick. I didn't know what this was going for. If this was just the movie thing, then yes.
No, well, so I do want to talk to you about diamonds just for a minute, if you don't mind. We know they're slightly controversial, but there's absolutely no arguing that they're beautiful and rare and have come to symbolize longevity, durability, and clarity. And studies, those studies, they show that there are emotional reasons why people buy diamonds. And I picked a few to share with you. One is, I'm worth it, damn it. Right? The idea that right or wrong, some people measure their self-worth with self-wealth, to show it off a bit. The other one is, because you love me. Because, of course, you put a ring on it, you love me, we're going to get hitched. And then there's celebration. You're celebrating a birth, an anniversary, a divorce, etc. And then you could be doing, I did it, an accomplishment, right? You accomplished your graduation, a promotion, a divorce, all deserve diamonds. And the last one, kind of made me giggle, is redemption, which I thought was a little more like distraction because there's no better way to say I'm sorry than with a big fat diamond.
I feel like you're setting me up for something really crazy right now. So tell me how we get to our guest.
No.
Because I have a lot of questions for Neil.
So there's more. So, and when people pick their diamonds, they typically pick them for their brilliance and their clarity. And that's also why these two diamonds, the round brilliant cut and the radiant cut diamonds, are considered the best in market. It's because of their numerous facets. And those facets cause light to reflect. So you get it delivers those dazzling sparklies and the brilliance that everyone wants when they're showcasing their bling. And so speaking of all things that are beautiful and multifaceted brings me to today's designated drinker. She is Aubrey Slater, a proud trans woman, former first lieutenant in the U.S. Marine Corps, second-level somm, a true hospitality professional who's crafted cocktails from Maui to Prague and everywhere in between. And if that isn't enough, she is also the co-owner of Saint Luna Moonshine, and she joins us today along with her partner in crime who is returning, this time in person, the founder of Saint Luna, David Sook. Welcome to the show, Aubrey and David.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I'm definitely more of the sidekick when you listen to Aubrey's intense resume.
Oh my God.
I'm okay with that, though.
We all need our place, right?
Yes.
But I think all of that deserves a toast. What do you think? Will you share some of your delicious moonshine with us?
We'd absolutely love to.
Listen.
Pleasure.
Let this
Are we
out.
going to get the pop?
Let's hear.
Oh.
Do it again.
Let's do it
again.
Oh, yes.
There we go. That is impressive. That is impressive introduction. First of all, she's never given me a diamond reference. That's 100%.
Right?
That's one.
I know. I was like,
I didn't know
do
she
we
was...
get complimentary diamonds?
I didn't know where she was going with that. And here, and Tiffany has given us this to give to you.
I know.
I was like, what's next?
But when I got to her resume, it seems to make sense.
It
right?
did. I was like, cheers to that.
Cheers.
It's so smooth.
I would happily wear a diamond, just saying. For next time.
It's so sad. Neither David nor I made the whiskey face.
Yeah.
It shows just the level of competence in drinking 100 proof moonshine.
It's also pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. I mean, it's crazy smooth.
So tell us a little bit about it while we're tasting. What do you have? Tell our listeners what we're... they don't get to taste this very minute as we do.
I know. Well, it is a beautiful, it's a moonshine at its very base. We started off with that, the credibility of being made in a still on a farm in maybe Georgia.
So we were on the border of Chattanooga, on the border of Tennessee, rather, and Georgia when we first got our pilot still going. But the whole idea was to elevate the category and really show people that, yes, it's a moonshine, but it can have a beautiful place on the back bar and be quite gorgeous to drink. So what we do is 95% grade A molasses out of northern Florida and 5% rye. This batch was actually out of North Carolina. And then we use a charred oak stave to filter it. So you get a beautiful bit of like smoke and leather on the finish, but you get all that beautiful sweet grassiness of a rum in front of your palate and the pepper and the spice of that rye on the back of your palate. So it's extremely smooth and delicate, but it just has all these beautiful layers of flavor. So when you're making cocktails, it's a wide open...
It's delish.
Yeah.
I mean, it is delicious. I mean, moonshine could be off-putting for sure, or white dog, or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like everyone will call it something else, but like I really feel like it's growing. You know what I mean? Like the category definitely, is growing. And like when it's becoming more of a thing when like Buffalo Trace is producing on the regular now a moonshine that's available at the distillery.
Yeah, we're certainly trying to push the category and just show people that it can be really tasty. If you're out, with your moonshiner buddies and, they take a lot of care into what goes into that mash. It's not the typical commercialized stuff that you see. So we just thought, why not make it gorgeous? As Americans, we owe quite a bit of history to that sort of like prohibition era from the speakeasy bars that you see out there now that are winning awards left and right, to the fact that the Kennedys ran the stuff and made a fortune doing it. So why not give it a beautiful place on the back bar, know?
Absolutely. Where it belongs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to just say for like our listeners at home, like an easy way to introduce moonshine into your bar is just like making a Ricky. It's just literally soda water, a lime, and some shine. It's delicious. And just do something really like a beautiful product. You know what I mean? Like don't go out and just buy like something you found like that might be infused with like, I don't know, like 59 peaches in a jar. And you're like,
or pickles or cherry pie filling.
Yes.
It's interesting because it's like, I hear often, it's the cool thing about our product is that everybody has some sort of, familiarity with moonshine. They all got a story like, oh, my weird uncle, would always bring it to Thanksgiving, or, our neighbor up camp and, in the Lake region of Michigan makes it, or I tried it in college, or the gas station, near my mom's house sells it in Tennessee. And, it's definitely, an interesting spirit, to play with.
But they ask when they see moonshine on a menu because they have had a connection to it, whether it's a good one or a bad experience. They can't quite figure out how you put a moonshine into like a Hemingway daiquiri, so they ask about it. Makes a beautiful cocktail, so it quickly becomes one of the better selling cocktails on a menu because it truly stands out. I've always sort of thought that there's a place for everybody, so the moonshines that are infused, sure, like that's a shot that you take to get your night going. It's not what you'd use to craft a beautiful cocktail. You'd use our stuff for that.
Absolutely. So speaking of things all beautiful and bright.
Oh, are we going to talk about me now? No, just kidding.
Yes.
We got to get the episode notes on David.
I'm like, what episode number is that? Aubrey, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your backstory. You have such a great one.
Oh man, I've been in the hospitality industry for so long now. I guess I should just go into the hospitality part, out of the military into almost straight into hospitality. And, it started off in like local bars here in DC, actually, like Peppers and on 17th Street.
Gosh, that place was great.
I know, right? Like 18th Street Lounge and, doing the Kimpton hotels and stuff like that. And just really got a taste for it, and at one point in time met this amazing bartender, Dale DeGroff, and, learned a lot from him and realized that there was so much more out there that, because at this point in time, while I was still in DC, it's like the martini craze of the early 2000s. Like everything was put in a martini, it was like the French martini, the flirtini, the appletini, like you name it, it was in a martini glass. And that was, and everything was, Rose's lime juice and grenadine, and daily sour mix and all that fun stuff, and, bug juice that we made margaritas with. And then I was just like, oh, yeah, fresh juice, fresh mint in a mojito, novel ideas. Like, just it seems so groundbreaking then. It seems so simple right now. And then I moved to Maui, and I was working at Cheeseburger in Paradise, and did the Bubba Gums thing. Oh, I know. And I worked part-time for like a local wine distributor, and I was just like selling wine to some of the West Maui resorts, and the big hotels and Italian restaurants. And that was kind of like my first foray into the wine world, which is was an adventure that I was just about to take when I moved to San Francisco next. And so there, it's like I'm working in this restaurant, and I have people coming up and they're like, I want something big and jammy, but dry with lots of tannins. And in my mind, I'm just like, okay, I think I can, I think we have a wine like that, and I'm like talking to the manager. She's like, listen, there's nothing like that. She's like, they have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm just like, well, I'm living in San Francisco. I'm close to wine country. So it would make sense that I would want to learn more about wine. It's just like, I want to be better at my job than my guests are. So it behooved me to start taking extra steps. And it's like when I really started taking my career seriously. And so I got the book, signed up for the courses, and ended up taking my first sommelier certification in Cincinnati. And then realized, I thought I knew about wine because I had worked at a nice Italian place here. I don't know if it's even still around, Ristorante Tosca. And, being introduced to Italian wines and that world. So I thought I knew a lot about wine until I started learning about wine. And then I realized I knew nothing about wine, but I was well on my way.
There you go.
And then worked at, helping open up a speakeasy style cocktail bar. Which was basically just a bunch of, bartenders who had been in the business for a long time. And one of them had like a Waldorf Astoria cocktail book, pre-prohibition cocktails. And whenever we had days off together, we started making, these cocktails. Started leaving more the wine world and getting more into the cocktail world. And, it's just this burgeoning, I guess, movement, with this craft cocktails, fresh ingredients. What is an Amaro? I'd never even heard of such a thing before, and then having reps bring in Fernet to me. And I took a shot of Fernet and I'm like, why do you hate me so much? Like, what is this? And it's just like, I'm running an English pub. Like, what am I going to do with Fernet? Or what could I possibly do with Bull's Jennifer? Like, what is this? And so, starting to do these cocktails with my friends and opening these new cocktail bars in San Francisco and, really branching out and seeing what the possibilities were. And it was just like, like wine is fun, but like just being on this cusp of this, creation, I guess this creative boom in the cocktail world was just so much more exciting. And so I was like running wine programs for like, Gentil at Jack's and Bistro Gentil in Napa Valley, and I was helping a friend out, running her winery in Sonoma, and so then I started like leaving that world and focusing more on the cocktail
Transitioning,
bars.
if you will.
Yeah, I've come. My new buzzword is pivot. It's like it seems to be, it seems to be very fitting. I pivoted from wine to cocktails and. And everything was like on the up and up. And then 2008 hit and everything just went in the toilet. It was just like restaurants with like amazing reputations. Like first it was like you'd see them closing for lunch. Like, we're not doing lunch anymore. Then it's like, sorry, but we can't afford a sommelier. So wine programs started to suffer. Then they were just like closing doors altogether. And then I couldn't get a job for like a year. And San Francisco just became a very sad place for me at this point. And ended up moving back to Pittsburgh area where I guess I was spawned and to help my mom take care of my grandfather. And, just like that was amazing. And then...
That's where I was spawned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking love it.
Yeah,
It seems appropriate.
I was spawned in Long Island. I love this one. Keep going.
Right. Just burst forth. And... So yeah, I'm now in
Like she lives in a pond.
Yeah.
Right?
I cannot.
She was a tadpole.
I know. She's a tadpole.
Still had a tail. It was cute. And, so, it's like I'm like head bartender at a fine dining restaurant, and then that didn't work out, and I moved back to where my mom was in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, and I'm bartending at a restaurant in a mall in Beaver County, and where you think, when I say it, it sounds like where dreams go to die.
Yeah.
But it was like I've learned, you always keep your options open, and you keep hope alive, and you never, you just be aware and stay open to possibilities. And just randomly, this young couple comes into my bar, and I start geeking out over cocktails with this gentleman, and we're talking about making drinks, and then he's back behind the bar with me. And
Oh my God.
shaking cocktails, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Bartending." And he's like, "No, seriously." He's just like, "With your resume, like the places you've worked, the places you've been, like, what are you doing here?" And I was just like, family obligations. And he's like, "Well, I'm opening up a new bar in New York, and I want you to run it." So,
Wow.
yeah, just like, how did this happen? And it's
The
like
universe spoke to you.
it really did,
Yeah.
and like it found me, and in the most obscure place, and
In a strip mall in Pittsburgh?
yeah, in the Beaver Valley Mall, in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, and so I thought it was just bar talk. We got all excited, and then I didn't hear from him, and I was like, "Oh wow, that was nice." It was a nice thought. It was a fun fantasy for a minute, and then a month or two later, he came back, and he was like, "No, I'm dead serious." So sight unseen, unfortunately, my father passed away, but that freed me up. I didn't have the obligations anymore, and moved to New York City, and things just,
And here you are now.
yeah, things went very sideways, but in the best possible ways.
Awesome.
So you wind up in New York, you have this job, you become this awesome, amazing, everyone starts knowing who you are for cocktails. And then how do you meet David? How do you meet?
Oh, wow, there's so much in between. There's like 3 years of being homeless,
What?
turning into a woman. I needed to just, changing genders.
Let's do that.
Literally losing her tail.
Yeah, like it was a lot. There was a lot. Like everything, like I was in New York for all of like maybe 9-10 months before like just craziness ensued. I decided, this was the time, to start my transition. Like I just felt it was like a do or die moment, really. It was
It's often the story.
yeah, it was, like I didn't know if I could keep going as I was. And so I was like, well, I could either die fake, with possible friends, if they don't all leave me because I'm just a negative, evil, dark streaked ass. Or I can transition, be the person I've always been, and with the potential of losing all my friends and family and dying alone. And that's what I chose. I was just like authenticity over a life of, just misery and living this, fake life and in my own prison. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And, there was substance abuse problems because of, all the self-loathing, and I was very self-destructive because I wasn't living my life, and ended up homeless, and then started my transition in the system in New York. And, it wasn't until like I was broke and homeless and, it was bad. And I had all my, straight guy friends who were just like, well, why don't you get a job in a gay bar? And I was like, well, I guess I could. That would make sense, right? To you,
Yeah.
But first off, I have boobs.
Yeah.
Why would I be bartending in a gay bar? I'm sure that's not what they want to look at, and, plus, like, I was like, I'm a advanced level sommelier. I opened one of the top cocktail bars in the world. Got a culinary degree. I've done all this stuff. Like, I have,
pedigree.
Yeah, like I have that passion, and it's my career. Like, I'm not going to sell myself short or my community as a transgender person, because obviously that's what you expect from a trans person. So I was like, no. And I suffered dearly. And then finally came out the other side, went and got a bartending job at a nice place in Harlem, and just built myself back up. and just kept going and going. I was managing a nightclub. Then I got this beverage director position, and I'm running a charity event one night, and in pops David.
That's amazing. I did not know that. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to read your notes.
No.
No, that's okay. It's a lot, It's like when people are like, let me hear your life story. I'm like, we don't have that time.
We have a mutual friend, and this was her introduction to you for me. She said, greatest person, this is what she said. She said, you will, greatest woman, you're going to love her. That's it. That was it. That was what Rachel said. She said, you are like the greatest person. And she was really excited for me to meet. So you know what? Like that whole story led you to who, your persona now and who you are, not your persona, but who you are and who you put out to the universe. So being your true self is amazing because nobody says, oh, this is my friend that transitioned. This is my girlfriend who's amazing. Yeah. And that's it. And like, that's the best, right? Like you're
really
exactly, you're where you need to be.
I know. It seems my goal in life was to become a middle-aged woman, and mission accomplished.
Woo!
I know. Yes, it's fabulous. I'm loving every minute.
The only thing is we have to put a hot pocket where your vagina is, and then you'll feel like what it's like to have menopause. So there you go. Hot hands.
I was like, what are you talking about?
When you feel like that hot feeling come over your body and a whoosh, that's middle age. Yeah, so I'll just go get some of those for you, and then we'll just do that for a little bit.
Before you do that, how about you give us a tip and trick?
Oh, just the tip. Cut it off.
No, I want your trick.
What?
There you go. Sicka.
So, vinegar, right? How much of this do you have in your pantry at home? You have balsamic vinegar, rice wine vinegar you had for like a recipe. You're like, oh, I'm gonna use it for a recipe. You don't use it every day in your cooking. Or maybe you do. Or maybe you have some kind of like white wine vinegar, champagne vinegar, some vinegar your friend made, some mother from Baltimore, I don't know. You have something, right? So I'm gonna give you a way to make a shrub, or more of a cocktail syrup that's not a gastrique. Because just remember, if you only use vinegar and sugar together, it's a gastrique, right? We don't wanna make that. What we wanna make is something that is usable in your cocktail, something you can store, and something that tastes good too, because you are putting it in your body. So one thing I love is using rice wine vinegar. So this is one of the simplest ones I make every now and again. So what it is half a cup of sugar, plain old sugar, right? Plain sugar. And in here I threw some anise and some green cardamom pods. And I just threw it in here because honestly, I just carried it, right? So we're gonna put this inside of, pretend this is a pot. But what's interesting about vinegar is that a shrub doesn't necessarily have to be cooked with heat, right? You can add your vinegar, water, sugar together, put a lid on it, shake it a little bit gently. Sometimes it takes a half a day, and it will absorb, and you have something that is not cooked. So it doesn't really change the process, but it's so wonderful in your drinks. So if we put a half a cup of sugar, we're gonna put a quarter cup of vinegar, and then we're gonna put a quarter cup of water. I know, sounds too easy, right? You need the water content. Otherwise you're going to choke. And we're not making a gastrique, right? So we're gonna add a little bit of water. And I should have had that ready, but we all know me, I'm not ready for anything. So we're gonna put that on there. Now, I love at home these Snapware things. I don't know why I don't work for Snapware. They should endorse me, but they don't. I like to put everything in there. It's super easy, reusable. Shake it up and leave it out, okay? Don't put it in the sun, okay? Don't put it on your windowsill, on a radiator, because you live in a walk-up in Brooklyn, okay? Just leave it on the counter, someplace that's just kind of like ambient temperature of the air in your home, okay? Leave it there and come back to it. About like a day or so, you'll strain it off and you'll have this beautiful liquid. And I like to keep the seeds and stuff in it when I'm doing with the vinegars, because it's just really nice. And then you can use this in your cocktails. And I bought this on Amazon, this bottle. It looks very expensive for like $3. Invest in it, use it. It doesn't look great after a while. Take the top off, throw it out, get a replacement top, and clean your bottles. And that's it. That's using vinegar in your cocktails. Enjoy.
Gina, I know about shrubs, but I had no idea what you're going to do today with the vinegar. That's awesome.
Yeah, so you can utilize your vinegars in your closet that you bought to make that one meal once.
Oh, I have so many of them.
Different in cocktail ingredients. And you have 2 ways of using your, your pantry. Like, I think it's like a fun thing to do. Also, I love vinegar in cocktails, whether you use it straight or like a pinch or a dash. So like, you don't have to think of it as just like something where you have to mix with sugar, especially when everyone's very, conscious about like, using so much sugar in your food. So, you get enough of that naturally and just like the bread, you can
Yeah, let me have
out.
the bread. Let me have the bread.
Yeah, I'd rather eat the bread.
So where are they going to go to get this tips and tricks?
You can go to designateddrinker.show for your sour face from using vinegar in your drinks. Or you can catch us on Instagram if you want to see it and how to use it and what I'm talking about. So you can go to designateddrinker.show on Instagram as well.
Absolutely. And if you can't do all that, all you have to do is scroll down into your episode notes, and we will have links to both Instagram and as well as our designateddrinker.show for all of the recipes. There's a billion of them. Amazing. Our library of libations is what we call that. And the other thing we will also have is a link to Saint Luna, so you can get that yourself, so you learn more about it. Hopefully you live in an area where it's something that we can get.
Freshly available in DC now.
Lucky,
Yes.
I know people who can get me some Saint Luna.
Well, we just launched in DC. So as of today, we are officially in DC, which is pretty exciting.
Woohoo!
That's crazy exciting. That's not just a little exciting. That's
It's
like
very
it's
exciting.
Cool.
I know.
And now you have
I
an
love
excuse
it.
to be here in the market more. What?
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be down here at least like once a month to
Yeah,
get.
just remember that it's going to be very hot come tomorrow,
Yes.
right? Because it's
Yes.
just going to be hot here. That's it. I think you forgot the DC summers. a
Oh
little
no,
bit.
that's something that's ingrained in me. Like I remember like having to take multiple showers. Like you're all fresh and so clean, and then you go to walk outside to go somewhere, and you're like poof, wet.
All right. All this hot pocket talk brings us to the end of part 1 with the amazing Aubrey Slater. Aubrey is the chief brand developer queen of Saint Luna Moonshine. David is the founder. But if you are like anything like me or Gina, one round is just never enough. So go ahead and top off that drink and get ready for part 2 of this episode as we continue our moonshiny boozy banter. And we have a special surprise for Gina. I don't know if she knows this. She gets to sit back and relax because Aubrey is going to take over the stick behind the bar and craft something amazing that's going to dazzle our taste buds for sure.
It's a real first. So
There
I'm
you go.
excited.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a Latino-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, we craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Also in the Missing Link lineup of podcasts is Roger That, a podcast dedicated to guiding you through the haze of dementia, led by skilled caregivers. Now, if you're looking for a whole new way to enjoy the theater, check out Between Acts, an immersive audio theater podcast experience. Each episode takes you on a spellbinding journey through the works of newfound playwrights, from dramas to comedies and everything in between. Find Missing Link's League of Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, please don't forget to follow, download, and review the shows. Your reviews help our shows reach new audiences. To find out more about Missing Link, visit missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.